Hello everybody, I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time to turn these videos on, to listen, and to hopefully let it sink in so that it inspires you in the direction of action, that it's not only thinking about it, that it moves from a thought to a reality. So today's talk topic is an interesting one. It's called taking your power back, which can really manifest in all different areas of your life. Sometimes we feel like we lose our control, our power, and our ability to move things forward. So this is specific to the area of wellness. So in order to understand my 3-step plan to get you to take your power back, I want to first understand together with you is how do we lose our power? It's that ruminating, those thoughts, kind of fixating on that negative self-talk and almost giving more power to the negativity of the I cans, I won'ts, I shouldn't, I don't deserve it. So, the first step in really conquering that and regaining your power is to kind of recognize that it's there, to accept responsibility for how you feel, honoring when you're tired, that halt, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, calling it the emotion what it is, but then to also recognize the success of moving past it, of just taking one step, even when you don't want to. Kind of like what we talked about with motivation. Sometimes just doing before actually feeling like you want to do it. It's just putting one foot in front of the other to silence the noise in our head and just set that alarm and go. And from there is the first step of regaining power, is saying that I'm not victim to the I can'ts, that I moved past it and I did. And that's where step 2 comes in, is, identifying the why. So once you've just tried it or thought about it, now you need to think about why you should do it, why you're of value enough to insert it into your lives. And when I say it's like, the 5-minute exercise, the putting something healthy into your body, the taking a deep breath before reacting, the not answering that call that is going to trigger you. And one way is setting healthy boundaries, is building ourselves up, and that's part of that empowerment, that self-love, that building ourselves up enough to say, I can't do that, but I can do this for me. It's a regaining of control. And one practical step in doing that and in defining those healthy boundaries and to define your why is some journaling. And now journaling could be voice notes, in your own private space, or many apps that you could do this in, or even like pen and paper journaling. So I have one child, and this is pretty self-directed on her part. She doesn't always get this from me. It was really her own journey. She journals every night before she goes to bed. And she's been doing this since I think middle school. And she did it because she realized that there are so many things that kind of consume her throughout the day, and kind of taking a moment to just write out what the things were that happened, how they're not going to drag her down, and setting goals for the subsequent day. That's taking your power back. That's your step 2. That's your finding your why. That's your, setting those healthy boundaries, knowing your value, knowing what you can do and what you can't do. Once you have that clear picture, that 2-sided table of can and can'ts, then you're able to say, I'm going to get my power back. I'm going to own my wellness journey. Now, what happens when things get really consuming? This is your last step in really taking your power back. You need an almost go-to plan, right? Is counting backwards to distance yourself from the trigger, to almost, see it. Like say you see, someone you really have always kind of felt like a little bit of a battle with, as an example. And you see that she's like in her fitness journey, and you feel maybe a little bit behind because we have this tendency to always compare ourselves, and we're all unique individuals. We shouldn't do that, but we do. So we see them, let's say they're working out every day, they're looking good, and we feel like we just have been fixating on that negative self-talk. So we see that trigger. You count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're further away, right? You created that boundary, that distance. You say a mantra to yourself, like we learned about in stress management, like, I'm not that person. I have my own journey. I'm going to start tomorrow just with a 5-minute workout. It's really being able to settle yourself, to say, my power is mine alone. What works for her doesn't work for me. You can't touch my journey. I can't touch yours. Taking our power back is all contingent on recognizing who we are, our personal, unique, individual, incredible selves. Just like no one can press that button for you, you can't press it for them. So I know this sounds like a lot of fluffy, self-help mumbo jumbo, but like, fun fact, the most popular genre today in any sort of book, whether it's an ebook or a actual tangible book, is still the self-help genre. That's because we are bombarded with so many messages. We're all moving so fast, kind of like what I talked about in stress management. And all too often, we do not help ourselves. So self-help, there are hundreds of thousands of methods and ideologies around how to help yourself. I'm trying to keep it simple with 3 steps. It's really taking your power back. Is saying, I am my own self. I have my own process. I have my own boundaries that I need to be successful. I deserve my own journey. I really believe the psychology of this all, and I'm not a clinician, but I've worked with many of them. I'm a coach, but I don't have that mental health background, but I know enough to say that that is really your starting point. Whether it's nutrition that you're going after, or fitness, or something else, psychological self-analysis and building yourself up is the first step before you do anything else. Because once we know ourselves, we reclaim that power, we work on our inner selves before we get to our external selves. That is how we can make it sustainable and ensure long-term success. A lot of people, there's this new area in nutrition in colleges. And it's not about, what's the best method on how to eat for your different body type. I mean, that's important too. But it's called eating psychology. So many times we eat poorly because of what our mothers said to us when we were younger. Disordered eating was, kind of subtly revealed to us when we were younger, and we just kind of owned those actions. And we didn't even know consciously that we were doing it. So eating psychology is like one of those 101 courses. The first step before actual students learn what it needs to be, what needs to be in order to become a healthy eater, to work with clients, and so on. So what's my message before I conclude this video is it's here before you get to everything else. Reclaiming your power, taking your power back is really truly understanding who you are. What are your triggers? What are your threats? And what are your opportunities? And once we've gone through that 3-step process of, celebrating your success, reframing who you are, and then kind of coming down to, a process, and then pausing when our triggers happen, that's the process. So I know I've kind of said the same thing in many ways over and over, and there's some redundancy in this video. I'm trying to get to one critical point. You matter. Your power is, we are our own best friends. To thine own self be true. We can lie to ourselves, we can be our greatest critics, but once you take your power back and you feel ownership, that's when your journey starts. Thanks for listening. You got this. And I don't mean that in like the, silly cliche way. You really have this. You have the opportunity. You have the ability to move forward one step in front of the other. Baby steps, not big strides. Thanks for listening.